Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, delighted that you could join us on the programme. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join the football family. We've got lots to talk about in the company of Kris Commons, Alison McConnell and Tam McManus ahead of that big derby match on Sunday, Celtic against Rangers. I'll give you details of what's happening live on our YouTube channel a little later on, but do stick with us. Give us your opinion on last night in European football with Rangers with that dramatic penalty shootout win. And of course, we'll be discussing the points of view of Brendan Rodgers. We'll be looking at two young men who are super happy that they're called up to the Scotland squad in Lennon Miller and James Wilson. And we'll also look at the battle for the top six and the League Cup in England down south. So, jam-packed. First destination, Rangers Training Centre. Blair Malloy is there, and it must just be an area where they're all ecstatic after that penalty shootout win for Rangers against Fenerbahce last night, Blair.
Good afternoon, Peter. Yes, we're live here at the Rangers Training Centre, where it's been all smiles this afternoon as Barry Ferguson has been addressing the media after that penalty shootout win over Fenerbahce last night sent them into the last eight of the Europa League against Athletic Club and a trip to Bilbao. But he was very careful to point out today that the physical exertions of 120 minutes won't be any excuse when it comes to the Old Firm derby on Sunday.
In terms of his going 120 minutes, I'm not going to go into Sunday and use that as an excuse. They're well looked after here, in terms of sports science guys and the masseurs and with the food they get and the supplements they get. There's one or two, obviously, as you've seen as they took off, had minor issues. There are no major issues. I just need to see how they are after the session today.
Barry Ferguson, of course, no stranger to this fixture over the years. He's had his fair share of success against Celtic and especially at Celtic Park. And he gave his thoughts this afternoon on how he thinks he'll be received on the touchline as Rangers boss.
It's a place I always like to go and play. It's hostile. They're the sort of environments I like to go to. And I want my players to go and kind of embrace these stadiums. But I'm sure I'll get a nice reception when I'm standing at the touchline. But I'll need to focus on making sure my team go with the game plan that we're thinking about. And if we carry that out, we've got a right good chance of getting the 3 points.
There from Barry Ferguson after last night's win. Just as a footnote to that, Blair, some other good news coming out. Nico Raskin has been called up to the Belgian squad.
Yes, it's actually his second time being called up to the Belgian first team squad, Peter, though he's not actually made an appearance for the first team for the Red Devils. This is the first time being called up as a Rangers player, and I think it's testament to the form that he's shown in the last couple of months at Rangers. Of course, he was the captain when Rangers won that Old Firm derby back in January at Ibrox, and he's shown very impressive performances in recent weeks, not to mention that excellent through ball over in Istanbul to play through Václav Černý. Just a little bit of his quality, so certainly being rewarded for good performances in recent weeks.
Yeah, thanks to Blair out there at the Rangers Training Centre giving us the latest news and reaction from Barry Ferguson, of course, to last night and looking ahead to Celtic against Rangers. We're going to talk about it in greater detail. Give us your thoughts on the big game, but what about last night as well? Well, if you're going to win a game, the drama of it all, I mean, we complimented them, Kris, Rangers, on the win in Istanbul against Fenerbahce. But Jose Mourinho said it'd be a different game in the return, and boy, did it prove to be the case.
Absolutely. I think also Barry Ferguson mentioned that this tie was definitely not over. I think that was down to the poor form that they've shown at Ibrox in the last couple of weeks. So they've scraped through. They've got the much needed victory that takes them on to Atletico Bilbao. I think that'll be a different kettle of fish. A team that's doing pretty well in La Liga and also beat Real Madrid this season. So another tough test, but obviously in between all that, they've got a very, very tricky game at Celtic Park.
Yeah. Tam, did it play out the way you thought it was going to play out?
Not really. I thought that I quite fancied Rangers to win the game comfortably. I thought they started the game well. They had a couple of chances, Černý had a chance, but once the first goal went in for Fenerbahce right before half time, the whole atmosphere changed in the stadium. Rangers got nervy. Second half, I thought Fenerbahce were the better side. And when it went to 2-0, I thought, I think Rangers will go out here. Extra time, they dug in. I think they were playing for penalties. I think there was a couple of decisions that could have went against them. The penalty kick, probably in the last kick of the ball, which I thought was probably a penalty kick and didn't give. But, you've got to give Rangers credit. They dug in, they got to penalties. Butland was the hero, saved a couple of penalty kicks and they go through. But I agree with Kris. I think, the next tie, Athletic Bilbao, I think they're a big step up from Fenerbahce. I think the final is in their stadium this season. They're highly motivated. As I said, they're fourth in La Liga. They're unbeaten at home this season in Europe. So I think that will be a very, very big ask for Rangers.
On that point, some Rangers fans will be booking tickets for the final.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure there'll be a widespread optimism or foolishness, depending on which way you want to look at it. I think, I agree. I think Bilbao will be a really, really tough tie to negotiate. And the first leg is at Ibrox too, so you have to go away for the second leg. I thought Rangers were fortunate last night, I have to say. Listen, I think today's probably all about the fact that you're lauding the character to hang on in there, the resilience of that team when it did look as though they were seriously wobbling in the last 15 minutes of the tie or so, and then to hold their nerve, and I think their penalties were good. I thought Jack Butland was excellent, but I think also you have to say, that's 4 successive defeats at Ibrox too. I'm not sure that the portents are there to suggest that it will be a successful quarter-final.
Funnily enough, you mentioned that potential penalty kick. Jose Mourinho not happy with the ref.
In the second match, we played a fantastic match. Only one team played, only one team scored, only one team deserves to score more, only one team deserves to win after 90 minutes, only one team deserves to win after 120 minutes. Only one team had 3 penalties, that if you don't get 3, you get 2. If you don't get 2, you get 1. If you don't get 1 of 3, everything is strange.
Okay, there's only one team that went through though. It was Rangers in a penalty shootout.
Yeah, the special one seems to think that was pretty one-sided, didn't he? No, that's it. I heard Simon Jordan mention that when it goes to penalties, it's a bit of a lottery. I'm completely against that. I think when the amount of work that I used to do on my penalties and the training, the exercises, the breathing, and when you're in them pressure situations, that it shouldn't be a lottery. It should be, inevitable that you do score. And
You practice breathing.
Yeah, like before the game, just to lower your heart rate, just to try and cancel out the noise. So yeah, I think if you've seen a few of my penalties, this is what I'm teaching my wee boy at the minute. It makes such a big difference. It has the outcome of winning or losing. So I was always under the illusion that when you are in that position, that you should be fully prepared to have everyone is on your shoulders. I remember scoring against Spartak Moscow that obviously took us through to the last 16 of Champions League. Most nerve-wracking part of my career, I would say. But yeah, just going back to your training routine, going back to your breathing, trying to eliminate and pick a spot out in the net and put it where the goalkeeper can't get it. And I always thought if you go top of the net, you've always got a real opportunity. And very, very rarely do the goalkeepers jump high, especially if it's far away. So for me, it's not a lottery, and I think the Rangers' penalties were a lot better than Fenerbahce's, hence why they go through. Yeah, I'm glad you say that because I'm totally in your camp with it. When you look, I think 2 or 3 World Cups ago, Tam, I think I was listening to Sven-Göran Eriksson talk about this very thing, which is basically the statistics show you that the greater percentage of people who have success at penalty kicks are going high if you can put it in that top third in that corner. Mm-hmm. Goalkeepers tend to dive down the way, left or right. Tadic, the first penalty, he's going right down the middle and giving Jack Butland, great credit to Jack Butland, the save with his legs.
Yeah, I think if you go down the middle, you've got to go high. I think if you go down the middle low, there's always a danger of him kicking his legs back and maybe getting a leg on it. If you go high, it's obviously a lot more riskier. It takes more risk, but as Kris said, goalkeepers, they're always going to dive probably lower to the side. So, yeah, I agree. I think it's a bit bottle as well. I think you've got to believe in yourself. You've got to go up there, walk up, believing you're going to score. You've got to have, a place you're going to put the ball in your head before you take it, and don't change your mind. And
I used to get goalkeepers on a Thursday and Friday before I played Saturday, Sunday. I used to get the goalkeepers to dive exactly where I were aiming.
Yeah.
So I used to tell them, I'm going to go, low right, or I'm going to go high left. As soon as I hit it, you can dive as early as possible without being stood there. And I just wanted to get in my brain memory that it didn't matter where they went.
Side net with pace, it was in.
Absolutely, yeah. I wanted to get used to the feeling, the thought, the visual that I could strike a ball and see the goalkeeper going that way and he'd still have absolutely no chance. And that's why I think it's not a lottery. If you ask Alan Shearer or Matt Le Tissier and you said, right, that's your lottery ticket, you go, well, I've got a winner.
Yeah.
It's not a lottery. You have to just practice, be confident, and you've got to clean strike it. And like you said, when you go down the middle, I was unfortunate to miss one down the middle when I played for Derby, and that's why Spartak Moscow went very high. A bit too high, but it was high.
Yeah, yeah. To be fair, the last Fenerbahce penalty was high. It was rose head. It was the worst penalty kick I've ever seen.
It's a dreadful penalty.
But to be fair, I know you mentioned the 4 consecutive defeats for Rangers at home. I always remember what Kenny Douglas said. It doesn't matter what stats you put in the way of it. If when you read your paper in the morning it said Rangers win, go through on aggregate. And I think a lot of people are pointing out here, the fact that, Josie's talking garbage, says one message here. It says, Rangers should have been out of sight 5-1 in the first leg. His team were garbage going forward. I mean, everybody's got their take on it, but the ultimate thing for me, Alison, is seeing Barry Ferguson walk round that ground at the end with the Rangers fans absolutely delighted. Whether Fenerbahce are the better team or not, it's irrelevant. Rangers are through. They held their nerve. They managed to ride out the storm, and the scoreline says Rangers are through.
Completely, and I think when you get to this stage of European competition or any cup competition, that's the be all and end all. You want to go through, you want to progress. They've managed to achieve that for Barry Ferguson. Whatever comes next now, across these next couple of months as interim manager, he'll always have Fenerbahce. He'll always have that night. I'm sure he'll have enjoyed that moment at full time of celebrating. The atmosphere within Ibrox was raucous. I think everyone staying behind. I think he'll have thoroughly enjoyed it. He'll also know, however, that there's very little time to dine out on it before now you start to prepare for Sunday's game and everything that subsequently follows. But yeah, I think you would have to say Rangers had a bit about them across the 2 legs. I would agree with whoever said that it could have been 5-1. I think one of those offside calls in particular was so tight. I think Rangers could have had a more comprehensive advantage from the first leg. I thought Fred coming back in yesterday made a big difference to Fenerbahce. If maybe they'd had him available for the first leg, maybe it might have been a different kind of tie. But I think Rangers will be delighted. You have to say, you take the wins when they come, you go through, and now you've got a quarter-final to look forward to. Just
as a lefty, Szymanski's first goal, top drawer.
Yeah, perfect technique, and it didn't look lucky, and it weren't off his shin, it weren't off the sole of his foot. Beautifully guided to where obviously Jack Butland couldn't reach it, and yeah, he knew exactly, visualised it, knew exactly what he wanted to do, and executed it perfectly.
Yeah. Just before we get on to the news and then into the meat and bones of Saturday and Sunday's fixtures, I've got to ask you guys, Real Madrid, Athletico, the penalty, Tam, we've had a good ding-dong about it. Alvarez, I must admit, it's got to be the only situation in VAR where nobody in that stadium knew what the hell was going on.
Nah, I'd have gave the goal.
I'm with you.
I'm going to give the goal. It's not conclusive that he's actually double tapped it, and in a big situation like that, I'd have gave the goal. So I can understand Athletico being raging.
You've almost got the sticker meter in the VAR room, haven't you, now, for the cricket? If it catches like a nick, it's not conclusive. I agree.
Yeah,
it can't be. I mean, it's for that magnitude of a fixture to be decided on what is so controversial is outrageous, really.
Yeah, I know there's by the way, I'll tell you how inconclusive it is, Ali. Everybody is now releasing frame by frame some kind of justification for it, which tells you all you need to know.
I think it also goes against the grain of what VAR is. It's not a clear and obvious error. The fact that you've had to look at it 100 times from 100 different angles and slow it down, and you've had this really grainy footage of going back, it's utterly inconclusive. I think if you would feel so hard done by. I really do.
I wonder if they're going to start actually because on the flip side of that, if they're going to start watching goalkeepers to the absolute minute...
Coming off their line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, when do you stop?
Yeah.
Well, exactly. I think it's a great point you make. I just looked at it, and I having watched the game, Tam, it is funny. I mean, I'll tell you, it's funny the way football fans think. I actually just put out a tweet saying Athletico robbed, best team, and I just because I thought Diego Simeone's team were better over the two legs, and then one Celtic fan put under the tweet, "No, delighted they're out. I remember 1974." And I thought, wow, let it go.
My dad still remembers that.
Yeah, so...
booted them off the park.
Wait, doesn't bear a grudge.
Yeah, well, just about to say, for God's sake. Anyway.
That might be my dad's burner account.
Okay, from the joy of Rangers, and I think, great that Barry's got them for Athletic Bilbao. Can they go a stage further? Are you thinking about going to the final? Are you booking tickets? Are you looking to try and get cheap flights and hotels at the moment? Give us your thoughts on that. We're going to talk Scottish Premiership after the news.
Hello and welcome to your Scottish Daily News headlines on Friday the 14th of March, sponsored by Arnold Clark Rewards. Buy a car, download the app and get rewarded. Jack Butland spoke of the importance of last night's victory over Fenerbahce as his penalty stops helped Rangers progress to the next round of the Europa League.
It's huge. Look, we'd like to be a lot more competitive in the other competitions, of course, but that's irrelevant now. Every game is a must-win. We spoke about that. We spoke about how important it is to win every game for this football club. That's a given, but at times it's been difficult and we've had some struggles. All we can do now is give the fans and actually give ourselves the belief and the confidence and enjoy what's left of the season and give it everything we possibly can.
Turning back to Scottish Premiership action, Kilmarnock take on Hibs at the weekend, and speaking ahead of the game, Derek McInnes spoke of the importance of the game as both sides have plenty to play for.
We expect a tough game. I think Hibs will come in big numbers in terms of support. There'll be a lot of expectation. And the thing that each team's got now, you're up against a team that's got plenty to play for. Hibs are pushing for third spot. We're pushing for our own cause, so I think every game's got a real meaning.
Stephen Robinson and his St Mirren side travel to Motherwell at the weekend in the Scottish Premiership, and although there's been good performances as of late, he's looking for his team to start putting wins on the board.
But we've performed very well over the last 5 games. It's been a really difficult run for us in terms of the opposition, but we've competed really well, played some really good football, but ultimately we haven't got the points that we wanted, and at this stage now I would sacrifice the performances and take the points. So
those were your Scottish Daily News headlines on Friday the 14th of March, sponsored by Arnold Clark Rewards. Buy a car, download the app and get rewarded.
Thanks to Cara Henderson. We'll be hearing from 2 young men delighted to get a Scotland call-up a little later on in the programme. But to Sunday, Celtic Park, 12:30 kick-off, Celtic against Rangers. You've played in them. In your first one, what was going through your mind? What goes through your mind when you're in that tunnel and you know, my God, this is the first one and everybody's watching?
It felt relatively normal at the tunnel side of things, but going out onto the pitch, the noise, I didn't really grasp what it was all about at that time. That was my Old Firm debut. So that was
at home or away?
Away, yeah. So that was the first time that I've ever been involved in the game at Ibrox, yeah. And I can remember scoring after about 10-15 minutes. And honestly, I thought this is easy. Honestly, this is easy. Like 1-0, bread and butter, tap in, away we go. But I think then the game kind of got spiralled out of control. I think Fraser Forster got sent off. I may have got hooked off. And then you come out of Ibrox and the bus and the journey home, and then it was in the infancy of social media. So that went into the cupboard. I went into a dark room and just thought, right, I need to really evaluate how big this is and the magnitude of it. And it wasn't so long after that then my home debut for Celtic was against Rangers as well. And I scored in that, and I thought it was easy.
Yeah, did you lose the first one though at Ibrox, yeah?
I think we drew the game.
Yeah?
Very, very vague memory, yeah. I tend to remember the wins and the draws rather than the losses.
Yeah.
But I never won at Ibrox. I was never part of a team that won at Ibrox. But yeah, my home debut against Rangers, 3-0. And then my Old Firm debut was at Ibrox, so they came very, very quickly.
Yeah. Tam, you know better than anybody with this one. It's one of those games where Barry Ferguson is keen to emphasise, doesn't want to make excuses. You look at them; they've had a long 120 minutes and been taking the full way in penalty kicks. So they're 4-1 to head to Celtic Park and get the win. 3-1 the draw. Celtic 4-6.
Yeah, listen, I think if you're a Rangers fan, that's 41 looks quite big. I think away from home they've been excellent this season, particularly in the bigger games in Europe. They've obviously not beat Celtic at Parkhead for a while. The 120 minutes, I think that was good from Barry there, getting that no excuses going to Ibrox. You know, we've had a tough game, but there's no excuses going to Parkhead. Sorry, you know, we have to go there and try and win the game. So I think that it's a bit of a dead rubber, really, isn't it? It's a bit of a. I mean, does Barry go there and win? Think to yourself, I could maybe get the job, possibly. You know, it's a bigger game for him and Rangers than it is for Celtic, who are miles ahead. So I think Celtic will come flying out the traps. I think they've done it against Hibs last week. They had a free midweek. I think Brendan will be saying, listen, they might be a bit leggy after that game. Let's get after them the first 10-15. And if Celtic do score in that period, then I think they'll go and win the game comfortably. If Rangers can keep it tight, you know, for maybe 30, 40, into 60 minutes, then they could maybe surprise Celtic. But I just think Celtic are too strong at home this season, and I think they'll win.
Yeah, this is what Brendan had to say ahead of the game. If I look purely at the coaching aspect, I don't see a great change. I see the team go 2-0 down against Kilmarnock and win. I see the team, he's talking of course about Rangers, lose at home to Motherwell. I see the team go away and get a fantastic result in Fenerbahce. I see the team lose last night 2-0 over 90 minutes but win the tie. I see the team change the system, but I still see a lot of the same traits. So even with Barry Ferguson at the helm, he still thinks that the DNA of this side is something that's not going to surprise Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, you can't drastically change the same players in such a short period of time. I think Brendan would have had his eye on this game for many, many weeks now, knowing exactly how to play it. I think on the back of that 120 minutes, I think they'll want to come and explode them first 15, 20 minutes, really get after Rangers, try and get 2 or 3 goals really, really quickly, get the crowd up, create that atmosphere, and then look to dominate possession. And he won't want to take his foot off the gas. I imagine now that he's had meetings that they keep pressing. If they've got chances for 4, 5, 6, 7 goals, they're going to keep winning. They're not just going to be happy with 2 or 3 and you know down tools. They want to send out a statement that they're 16 points in front of the of Rangers, and they want to make that even bigger.
Alison, on the flip side of that, I wonder about how Barry lines up in this game. What does he do? I mean, the great thing about the way he's tweaked things, he's deservedly got some praise for formation changes, but one of the key elements he seems to like is Barron, Raskin, people who are going to graft in the middle of the park. People are going to fight rather than have any great creativity. You know, Hadji has been on the bench and brought on at times, especially last night.
I think he'll go with the same starting lineup. I think he'll go with the same kind of approach. I think he'll know that the middle of the park is huge. So often in these games you've seen Celtic dominate in those central areas and then just control the ebb and flow of the game. Interesting too, Callum McGregor didn't train today. I think he's been handling a calf issue. I think he'll train tomorrow and then a decision will be made whether or not he starts on Sunday. But I think that central area is so important. Connor Barron has come back in, obviously had an injury, has come back into the team. He'd said that he'd worked a bit over the last week or so with Barry Ferguson, just doing individual sessions to obviously learning off someone who knew the position and played the position so well. And I think I think he obviously likes his work rate, his energy, and just breaking things up. But I think that area of the pitch will be key on Sunday.
You know, it's an intriguing situation, wondering what Barry's going to do against again. But it's a similar situation to the midweek game against Fenerbahce. He's coming up against a coach with a great record, who is tactically switched on, and he's got to come up with a game plan to try and at least put in people's heads that he's got something to offer as a coach. I kind of disregard all this, I wouldn't say it's claptrap, but just it's almost like newspaper talk about, they're looking at Rafa Benitez, they're definitely going to go with Steven Gerrard. Ferguson's got no chance of the job. You know, there are many, many hurdles to get to before Rangers are even been taken over.
Listen, I think Barry will believe that he can get the job. I think that he'll think to himself, listen, we can get into semi-finals of European competition, we can beat Celtic in an Old Firm game, finish the season strongly. I could put myself in the mix for getting the job full time. So listen, I think he will go 3 at the back, but obviously Celtic won't change. They'll play 4-3-3, they'll play with the one striker. So will Barry play the 3 centre-backs against the one striker? It worked really well in Fenerbahce because Fenerbahce played 2 strikers against the 3. And Rangers had a lot of joy in the middle of the park, so Celtic won't play like that. So he's got a lot of tactical things to look at, personnel, that could be players carrying knocks, players maybe injured.
You've got to nullify Maeda and Jota. That's
the two wide areas.
Maeda running in behind, and you've got Jota running in behind. All of a sudden, it's them centre-halves, the wide centre-halves, that will be being pulled out, and then they'll be all over the place. I think Maeda's caused no end of trouble for Tavernier in the past.
He'll probably play through the middle, I think. He'll start through the middle. I think.
Would you go 3-5-2 if you were Barry on this one, or let me just qualify that? Would you go 3-5-1-1 and again try and keep it really tight between the banks and the back line?
I would think if you had any brains going to Celtic Park, you want to keep it as tight as possible, make it almost impossible. Force them wide, but not into the. You don't want to force Celtic wide where they've got opportunities to get in behind your defence. So you want to force them wide and put them into areas where they've then got to come and recycle the ball. Now Brendan is a big fan of that. Going wide, pushing up, recycle, come around, let's try another. Can we move them? Can we keep them moving from side to side and exploit little gaps in behind? What Rangers have been foul of in the last couple of games is where Maeda gets in behind and he's clean through, or he's running to the byline and putting balls in the box. I think that's what Rangers will look to nullify. But it's one thing having the tactics and everything down like that. Neil Lennon says, you can have all these tactics and everything, how you're going to play. You concede a goal within 5-6 minutes, they're all out the window. So it's very difficult to try and say what formation, but what they have got to do is be defensively very, very hard to beat, which they've not been.
Yeah, and of course the ultimate thing here, Alison, is quite simply this is a Celtic side that, as Kris pointed out, are running away with the league. They played at a higher level in European competition and certainly flourished getting to that knockout against Bayern Munich. And you would imagine at home they're going to be even more formidable for Rangers to try and continue the exertions of midweek, get a lift from that, and then somehow produce a performance that gives them something to hang on to for the end of the season.
I think there's 2 aspects to it for Celtic. One, there's no tension within the game. There's no tension around the outcome of the game because I think everyone would accept that the title's pretty much done. So I think that alleviates any real pressure within the outcome of the game. And the second thing is I think they'll have a point to prove about that Ibrox game. I think they'll feel as though they're a better team than they showed that day. I think they'll want to go and produce a performance that reflects the fact that they have a 16-point gap at the minute. I think they'll be keen to go out and just take control of the game in front of their own support and just show why they are in the position that they are. One
man who didn't really feature all that much last night, didn't really get a sniff at times, he could be crucial for them in Cyril Dessers.
Yeah, he was quiet last night. I think obviously you've seen him away from home in Fenerbahce. I think I think he's a better player when there's space to run into. I think that obviously Fenerbahce sat a little bit deeper last night. There wasn't that room. But I thought Czerny had an excellent game last night. I thought he looked sharp, and those two will cause Celtic problems on the counter. I thought the Rangers subs that come on last night were poor. Bajrami, £3.5 million, looks a poor buy for me. I think he looks poor. Igamani's, I think 10 games without a goal. He's not really kicked on either. So I think they're really heavily reliant on Czerny and Dessers, because when they two went off last night, Rangers had no threat. So I think if Barry's got those two available on Sunday, I think those two will look to try and catch Celtic on the counter.
Oh, you'll know better than anybody. Czerny coming in off his left, I like him. I think he's a great player.
Terrific player. Going back to what Jose said there, coming inside, they didn't look like they were going to score. Remember the goalkeeper pulling off some brilliant saves from Tierney. Yeah, so he's a terrific player. Comes in, he makes it difficult, and he also, when he does come in, he looks to link up with the centre forward and get 1-2s. He gets not only on the outside, but he comes in, gets 1-2s on the inside that opens up the goal even more. So yeah, it's a difficult one to defend against because he's so naturally left-sided. He keeps coming inside. You're never sure as a left fullback that you keep following him in, do you? Or you end up following him so far and then pass him over. So it creates that indecision. It creates that little bit of where should I go and press, should I not? So yeah, he will be a definite threat. And I think with Dessers as well, he's seen his goal against Man United away. He has got quality. He does like to run in behind. He's got a good touch. He does know where the back of the net is, but he's very, very inconsistent in front of goal. He's not a guaranteed scorer when he's through.
Celtic obviously play the high line. We've seen that in recent weeks. Brendan likes to play the high line, so
compress the space.
Yeah, they'll try and compress it and playing Rangers half, but they need to be careful on Dessers because he has got pace.
Okay, give us your thoughts on it. Who do you think is going to win in the derby on Sunday? Is it going to be Celtic with home dominance, or can Rangers again lift themselves and take something from going through in that Europa League match and deliver a performance that the 2,500 fans... Now, I know some people will celebrate and say, oh, it's great, 2,500, but, exactly as I said to you, they'll give it a token gesture of a couple of percent. I think 7,000, when Kris used to strut his stuff, it was just an atmosphere that was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I think you want the full allocation, Peter. This is just a start, I think, hopefully, for the better. I hope that there's no issues, with fans fighting or battling after the game, because then you might be back to square one. Hopefully Rangers fans go there, they enjoy the game, they're safe, they get home all right, and then you can go and look ahead to try and get more in the next time. But listen, it's a start, Peter. There was none recently, and there was 800, which is a token gesture. 2,500 is a decent support. It's no 7, but I still think that Rangers come out, they look over, they see those 2,500. It just gives you a wee bit of lift.
Yeah, you must have loved it. I mean, obviously you said you didn't win at Ibrox, but when Rangers score a goal at Celtic Park and you had 7,000 there, boy,
Never
well, I was going to say to you... yeah, Kris has got his own Twitter, by the way. Yeah. I was going to say to you, the fact
I scored a beautiful little dink over Gregsy and sat down and sat in front of him.
I remember.
I should have celebrated with my own supporters, to be fair, but it was just instinct. The first goal of the season, that were late March, I think, but it's a different atmosphere, it's a different breed, it's a cauldron. When you go and take a corner in that corner, all the red, white and blue and the abuse and the atmosphere that they create, it gets the hairs on the back of your neck standing up, and it adds more to the game.
Does it add more to you? I know you were talking about there, you were taking a penalty kick, you practice breathing and you want to lower your heart rate and you want to stay calm. Does it add to your feelings, your emotions, when you've got that 7,000 or a huge away support have an impact on players?
Do you know what, Peter? It made me feel, when I was playing at home, when you were the 7,000, if the other team was in the ascendancy, it made you feel as if when they were going at it, you were like, oh God, here we go, please, come on, let's defend properly. OP does his job, and everyone, do you know what I mean? It just creates that little bit of doubt in your own mind that they're on the ascendancy, they've got the support, they're having a good go. I don't think you've seen that when there's just home sport that's 99% of the stadium. I just don't see it giving you that edge as a professional athlete. And like Tam says there's that little 2,500 that are going to be there, but certainly when you're walking out for the handshakes and team stuff, looking over and seeing red, white and blue, it makes me even want to go out there now.
Yeah. Maybe not in the condition you're in. But the
says you're an elite athlete.
To be fair, he's got 20 years on me, for God's sake. And by the way, you want to see him at the fives. We don't just double up on him, we triple up on him when he gets the ball. Prediction?
I'm going to say 3-0 Celtic.
I'll say 2-0 Celtic.
2-1 Celtic.
Yeah, I think it might be tight. I'm with you on that, Tam. Okay, give us your thoughts on it. Rangers fans out there, can Rangers go there and win? Can Dessers produce a moment of magic? What about Czerny? Is he a match winner for Rangers? And does it actually get to a situation where if Rangers were to pull off a credible draw or a win, does it strengthen Barry Ferguson's case among the support to try and influence whoever is in charge beyond the summer as far as the Rangers manager's position is on a permanent basis? Give us your thoughts on that. Thank you to so many of you for offering your thoughts on who you think is going to win it, and even one of our Dons fans who regularly posts in 4-1 to Celtics. There's not too many people actually looking and thinking to themselves that Rangers can go there and win the game. But as many a person will tell you, in an Old Firm game, you just never know what can happen. Hearts versus Ross County is a big game. Hearts desperately hoping they can get into the top 6. They're 7th. Ross County are 8th. Only 1 point separates them. But all the talk around Tynecastle and at the Oriam today was on a young man who is still at school, but he's been picked for Scotland. And you can't wipe the smile off James Wilson's face.
Yeah, I came in for breakfast in the morning, and the gaffer told me, and I was just surprised. I was sitting waiting for the 21 squad to come out, and when I found out, I was just buzzing. I phoned my mum and dad. Yeah, they were really happy for me. Bit surprised, but yeah. I mean, this is crazy. I've said before, like everyone tells you in football how quickly it can change, and I made my debut almost a year ago, just a bit longer. And now being called up, so yeah, it does change really quickly.
How do you walk into first 2 periods English on a Monday morning? You know, you've played and scored in an Edinburgh derby. You're getting called up for Scotland. I mean, you must walk in with a blazer and just think.
You don't care if you've done your homework or not.
Exactly, you're like that. I mean, that's the key point, isn't it?
No, brilliant for him. You know, really exciting young striker. I was surprised he got called up in the full squad. I'm not going to lie. You know, I think because of the dearth of kind of talent, the dearth of options we've got, I think he's in just because he's got that energy and that youthful enthusiasm. It's great for him, it's great for Hearts. I'm not sure he'll get a game, but it's a great experience for him and Lennon Miller, who will probably speak about 2 18-year-olds in the Scotland squad. Stevie Clark's obviously looking to the future, get these guys bedded in, bleed them in early, get them into the squad. So we just have to wait and see, but I'm delighted for him. I think he's added a lot of energy to Hearts since he's come into the team.
Probably needs to, I was speaking to John Robertson, he looks at him and he said he is still slight, probably needs to fill out a little bit, you know, and he'll get older and wiser as he goes on. We're crying out for somebody, Alison.
Yeah, I think that's the point. I think just Scotland are desperate for someone that can come in and be a regular goal scorer at international level. Listen, he's 18. He's not yet had a full season under his belt. I think you just need to let him develop a wee bit. All that will come. The physicality will come. The being a bit more robust in terms of filling out. It will all come naturally. But certainly, he's had a very impressive campaign. I've watched him a few times. I like him. I think I like him as a player. I too was surprised that he was called in. I didn't think, we spoke about it last week, and I said to you I didn't think he would be in the squad. But I think it's a tremendous opportunity for him to go in and be exposed to that kind of level, at international level, be around older professionals, listen to the chat, watch the training. And I think sometimes we've been very critical of a conservative approach to the national team, of maybe being reticent to call up players who are a bit young. I think it's a bold move, and I think it's to be applauded.
Yeah, full match to him. We wish him the very best. 3 wins in the last 4 for both sides. County clearly read them written off. They haven't read the script, Kris. How do you see this one going?
I think Hearts will win. I think they will. I think they'll get the 3 points. It will be a difficult game. I think if Ross County frustrate them and get an early goal, it could be a long afternoon. But I think Hearts, Tynecastle, and going for that top 6, I think they'll just have enough to edge the game.
Yeah, Ali?
I think Hearts will win.
Hearts need to win. I think it's a big game for both. I think when you look at the league table at the minute, you know, there's not a lot of room for error with 4 games left. I think Hearts will nick it, maybe 2-1, but if Ross County win, they could, you know, push themselves into that top 6 and be a great season for them.
Oh, it'd be incredible for Duncowie. Absolutely incredible if they could pull that off. I'm with you. I think it's an absolute must-win for Hearts. Put a wee bit of pressure on Motherwell. We'll talk about them shortly. And 1 Lennon Miller. Killie 10th, Hibs 3rd. Dramatically, the transformation in Hibs. You know, we were looking back in November, they were bottom of the table. Now they're 3rd. And off the back of today's press conference, great news, Kris Commons has signed a new 2-year deal.
Yeah, I think he's been superb this season. I think that him and his brother in both wide areas, you know, wing backs have been, I was going to say telepathic, it's probably correct, but they play their role tremendously well. I think he deserves his new contract. There's a lot of a feel-good factor at Easter Road at the minute. There's a lot of positive news coming out, whereas start of the season it was all negative, losing money, bottom of the league, everything was really negative. Fans were getting on the players' back, but now it's totally turned and sitting in 3rd at the minute. Big game down at Kilmarnock, who have struggled this season. Hopefully Hibs can react in the right way from losing the cup game last week. I didn't think they played that badly. and it's no disgrace to lose at Parkhead. And I think they can go down to Kilmarnock and win and put Kilmarnock right in the mire at the bottom.
Yeah, at that point down there is very, very tight indeed. And in fact, when you look at Kelly, who are in 10th position, 31 points, Dundee with 28 and St Johnstone with 25. So one defeat can suddenly really put you in a position. And ironically, Tony Docherty chasing down his old partner in that management team of Derek McInnes. McInnes himself says that everybody at Kelly united for the desire to get the points they require.
Well, I think it's important for us as a staff and as the players to be positive about it and, you know, set about the task. It's there in front of us. It's clear as day what has to be done. We've got games to win, and you know we're not thinking anything other than that really. So you know, it's combined wins. It's unbeaten runs that get the job done, and that's what we're looking to try and do and find some good form. I think performance-wise, it's not been too bad, but ultimately, as I said, it's myself, the players, staff, supporters, we all just want to see a winning team, and hopefully we can get that on Saturday.
Well, I can't see it. Hibs win for me.
Hibs win for me.
Draw, 1-1.
Yeah.
2-1 Hibs.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, how many games did you play for Hibs? 5, I think. Yeah. Roughly. It was an injury that actually had your back, wasn't it?
That's the sciatic that ended up putting me in hospital for a bit, and 3 injections, 1 back up.
Yeah, okay, well, rather you than me. So a draw or a win for Hibs or a win for Kilmarnock. Give us your prediction on that as well. We move on to a guy who, like James Wilson, is obviously high as a kite. Lennon Miller called into the Scotland squad. And I love this little clip of the youngster who clearly not just delighted at getting into the squad, he wants to become one of the best players in the squad.
Obviously, I'm not going to go in and be the best player there, but I believe that I could, maybe in a couple of months, be the best player there, and I think that's how you need to think as a football player. You need to want to be the best. So, no, that's what I look to go into.
Well,
Not sure of confidence.
I don't know about you, Ali, but you know, that's magic, isn't it? I want to be the best player in the team.
Absolutely, and I think that's what you need. I think if he wants to go and fulfil the potential that we've all seen across the last 18 months or so, I think that's the right kind of mentality. I think, again, like James Wilson, I think it will do him good just to be in that kind of environment, be exposed to players who, you know, are a good bit further on in their career but have made their mark in the middle of the park. You can go and, again, just be exposed to how they train, their day-to-day life and what's required. But I think you've got to applaud that. You need that. If he's going to go and reach the levels that we've all seen and think he can get to, that's the way he has to approach it.
And without being too cynical about it, the Motherwell fans, Tam, are probably witnessing the last games of Lennon Miller in a Motherwell strip.
Yeah, I think they're selling this summer. They've got to. I think he's into his last year in the summer. I think in January there he was injured. I think that was probably, if you're looking at it, the optimum window for Motherwell. With 18 months left, I think you get a bigger fee. I don't think they can afford to go into his last year, you know, and kind of run that. I know they get a compensation fee, but it'll not be anywhere near as what they can get on a transfer fee. So in the Scotland squad, Motherwell will be delighted if he can get a cap. It should bump his money up as well. So yeah, I think he's a very, very talented young player, and it'll be a great experience for him in the Scotland squad.
It never gets any easier because they're up against St Mirren, who have their own desire to make that last push in the 4 games that they have before the split to get into the top 6. And you wouldn't bet against Stephen Robinson. They've got Motherwell, of course, at the weekend, Kelly, Dundee and Ross County, all winnable games. And that's really where Stephen Robinson is trying to focus his players. 12 points up for grabs, everything to play for.
We haven't gained enough points of the teams below you. If you can take 6 points off the teams in and around you, usually, you know, on average, you'll finish above them. We haven't done that. We've got an opportunity to do it over the next 4 games. If we had the fixtures before we got to this stage of the season, you know, we would have went, okay, there's a real chance. You know, the games at home are winnable. The games away are good fixtures. And they'll feel the same. The teams we're playing will feel exactly the same. So very much all to play for.
Who's going to win this one? This is the toughest. This is
One
a
each
tough
for me, tight.
Yeah, draw.
Yeah, what's that big X in the coop?
Okay.
Or draw.
Okay, I'm going to go for St Mirren.
I'm going to go for a draw.
Yeah, 1-1.
1-1, okay. Well, what a barrel of laughs you three are. And on that point, we come to a bit in the programme where I didn't actually foresee this happening across our news feed when people are watching the programme live. And don't forget, we love the fact that people watch it live because obviously there was a real desire for people to, request us going back to showing the live show on a Monday and a Friday, although we do a lot of recorded content that I hope you're enjoying. But you get that immediate reaction, whether people like Kris Commons or not, we find out because they'll tell you. But there's a real groundswell of opinion here from Aberdeen fans who are just, Aurora, I've noticed Alison does not like to give us Dons a chance in any game. And then they've all steamed in on it. Yeah, she never predicts Aberdeen to win a game. So clearly there's a kind of a...
Michael Grant on this week.
There's a growing feeling that there's an anti-Dons campaign from you. So let's find out.
Feeling a bit sheepish here.
Yeah, but don't forget, Tam's definitely got his own Twitter account, by the way. And he usually puts out a wee one and then runs away so that he doesn't have to argue with people. But St Johnstone against Aberdeen, the great news is...
Under pressure now.
She's under pressure. But it's Jimmy Tillene's birthday. And Jimmy Tillene will be watching this programme thinking, I wonder if Alison really is an anti-Dons fan. One thing is for sure, the Dons manager's hoping that on his special day, he's rewarded with 3 points.
Yeah, it's the best present you can get, so hopefully. But again, it's going to be a difficult away game. We have played them before and it's been tight games. So... we are expecting that tomorrow also. But also we are I think we're doing things better and better as a team. So we are hopeful for the game tomorrow and we believe in our journey. But Simo Valakari is a good coach and has done a good job there, and they're changing some parts. They have been a bit better run now the last 6 games. So we have to be sharp tomorrow.
It'll be interesting to see how they go about their business against the St Johnstone side. That clearly they're the one team that haven't read the script, Kris. Can I just point out to you, if you were looking at Aberdeen and you looked back over the season and you looked at the run of results, you would not believe it.
No, been so inconsistent. I mean, the start of the season was red hot, and then they've gone through that really, really difficult period, but they seem to have picked up a little bit recently. I think going away to St Johnstone, it should be a game that they'll be looking to get all 3 points. I think the only downside when you do go to St Johnstone, that the pitch is never really ideal. It's very difficult to play good football on there, and from personal experience, the atmosphere is sometimes a little bit flat. There's a lot of empty seats, and it's difficult to try and get that sort of atmosphere going. I think with St Johnstone fighting for their lives, they'll have to try and get that energy and try and get that atmosphere going to try and give them an opportunity. And I think with Aberdeen, you've got every chance of, which team's going to turn up. Is it going to be a team that's going to be absolutely firing on all cylinders, or is it going to be a team that's going to be sat there and waiting to concede? So, interesting fixture, but for me, I think Aberdeen will just have enough.
Yeah. The one good thing about Simo Valakari is that the board have bought into him. The football, I think a lot of the Saints fans are responding to the way that they're actually starting to play football. And we're talking about young players. Young Mackenzie Kirk's been a star for them.
Yeah, I played with his dad, Andy, which makes me feel old. He's come into the team. He's very similar to his dad. He plays on the shoulder. Gets in behind Andy. He was a good striker at Hearts and different clubs. But yeah, they have changed the system. They've changed the style of play under Craig. It was a bit more defensive, pragmatic. They were hard to break down. I think he's opened them up a little bit. It's took it a bit of time to start to get results, but they have, and they've got themselves back in the mix, Peter, because they went 10 points behind at one point, and they were written off. They're down, and they've got it back to 3. If they can go into the bottom 6, split 3 points behind, they're still in it. And so I don't expect them to pick anything up. I think Aberdeen have got confidence back. They've been lucky to play against 2 low league teams, Dunfermline and Queen of the South, and they've banged a few goals in. I think Kevin Nisbet in particular has looked lively, so I think they'll go down and beat St Johnstone 2-1.
Yeah, I'm going to go the draw on this one because I think St Johnstone are playing some really good football, and I'm still not convinced that Aberdeen are back to where they should be. But let's go to the prophet of doom. Come on then.
Aberdeen to win 10-0. I think it'll be a draw. Actually, I think St Johnstone have taken 10 points from a possible 18. across recent games. I think they're stubborn. I think they're fighting for their lives. They're quite clearly still thinking, you might just get out of it. And I agree. I still think Aberdeen have been unconvincing across recent weeks. I'm going to say 1 each.
Wow, so still not
Giving guns, I like that.
I like that. Still not giving Aberdeen even a modicum of positivity in your assessment.
There is positivity there. I think I'm going to give some credit.
You don't think they'll finish third either, do you?
I don't think they'll finish third. I think Hibs will finish third.
That person was correct, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've no specs on. I'm glad I carried it.
Yeah, exactly. To be fair, in December and January, you were going through a real purple patch where you just kept saying they're going to lose, and they did. But right now, no, I think they'll all be steaming in you, Ali. As we speak, they are all steaming in you. But anyway, I'm not going to.
I don't have a Twitter account.
I'm not going to read them out. Kenny says, Alison said we were lucky in our first 12 games. Yeah.
That's a bit unfair. What I said was they were lucky in elements of that game. I think that game at Dens Park where they didn't play particularly well, and when you're winning and you have a bit of momentum and belief, sometimes you come out on top of games that maybe in other circumstances.
Don't play to the crowd.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. If you're going to be hated, he knows all about it, You might as well stick to your guns on it. And of course, Aurora says, well, maybe next week Alison will tip us, because they've got Motherwell, Ross County, Rangers and Hearts to finish before this.
Definitely against Rangers will title.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, absolutely. Sunday, Dundee derby, as well as it really is. I mean, you said something, and I just think, I don't think anybody out there who's watching this show, listening to it and downloading the podcast, will be in command of what you told me before we come on air, Kris, which is quite simply, Sunday is an absolute howitzer of a day. When you get up in the morning, you have a fantastic breakfast, you're there with your family, your wife's there as well, and you're super excited about having a super day with the family, because Sunday's usually that day when you get out, you put the coat on, you let the kids run about, and you just have a great day. You hold hands, and it's fantastic. But Kris pointed out to me,
no, you set your alarm at 3:45 for the Australian Grand Prix. That's how it starts, in a dark room at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
That takes care of the first couple of hours, and then you've got the build up for the Glasgow derby, and then you've got the Dundee derby. You've also got Arsenal, Chelsea. You've got the cup final.
Yeah, Liverpool, Newcastle.
Yeah, and then Sunday night, a nice Chinese and an early bed.
Yeah,
and then hopefully see the wife Monday.
Yeah. And she's thinking the exact same with her pals. And of course, Kris in the single room on his own. Fantastic. I don't think I can get away with that, to be perfectly honest with you, Ali.
Your wife might be delighted.
I know, absolutely. The Dundee derby, there's one in that jigsaw that Kris was talking about.
Sorry, I forgot one more. Sheffield Wednesday, Sheffield United.
Wow.
The Steel City
as well.
Can I just say something to you? If anybody manages to fit Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday in there, then we will come to the leaving the house party.
Well, you don't believe this, but my boy does support Sheffield Wednesday.
Is that right?
He's a Celtic supporter and Sheffield Wednesday, and that's only because he got took to Sheffield Wednesday because we don't live too far from Sheffield. His coach is a Sheffield Wednesday fan, and Barry Bannon were very kind to give us some tickets, so they went and watched the very famous when they come from 4-0 down against Peterborough. So yeah, they got the pitch invasion, and it got them. So they've got Sheffield Wednesday kits. So yeah, the Sheffield Steel City derby will be taking mainstream, I think, for my boys.
And George Hurst.
Sheffield Wednesday striker.
Potentially getting a call up for Scotland.
David. Oh, George, I thought you were on about the old boy, David Hurst.
Yeah, David Hurst's dad.
Yeah.
And we're doing a bit of, by the way, we know you've driven past Scotland in a bus one day. Here's a cap because we think you can score. We don't care.
Yeah. George Burley rang me up. He says, "You got any Scottish family?" I says, "Yeah, my gran." He says, "Right, you're in."
I knew that, so I just picture you up for it. Dundee derby, Alison, right at the start of the season, I was at the Dundee derby at Tannadice. It was a fabulous game. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, that's, sampling other derbies as well to see how the whole city comes together, and obviously there's the divisions, the dark blue and the tangerine. It was a great game.
Shortest walk in the world as well.
Oh well, it's that not only that, but you know, I just thought both teams played really good football that day. And now what we're seeing is United at the top end and Dundee in free fall.
Yeah, I think Dundee, I've watched a bit of them at times. I thought they were quite unlucky last Friday night at Tynecastle. I thought there was a wee spell in the second half where it looked as though they were going to just turn the screw and come out on top after they'd equalised, and then of course 2 quick goals. They conceded 2 goals within a couple of minutes and the tie was over. But I still think they've got enough to get out of it. I think I'm not sure that Tannadice is where they'll get the results that they're looking for though.
Yeah, and obviously Dundee out of the cup, but Tony Docherty reckons this is the perfect match to try and get everybody up again.
Our next game's a derby, and you know how important a derby is in the city, and we need to make sure that we dust ourselves down. Of course, again, we need to analyse the game and see what we've done well, but what we can do a lot better, and take it into the next game. And what better a game than getting to a derby? You know, that's for me, that's the best game to get into after this, because that's where you can really show a response.
Oh, and I'll tell you, Dundee need wins. What do you think? Again, I hope Kris doesn't know it's one of your mates is on the coaching staff.
Yeah, I know Tony as well, and they're obviously probably going to get sacked soon as well, because all my mates get sacked. But no, in all seriousness, they're because last season they done really well, got in the top 6. I think expectations this season, and I always think it's difficult to keep that up. They had that wee bounce for getting promoted, and then they come up and they finished top 6. And I just thought this season, I think it could be a wee bit of a struggle. And defensively, they've been poor, Peter. I think they're the 3rd or 4th highest scorers in the league. You know, they've got goals. Simon Murray's there. He's been excellent for them. But they're really, really struggling at the back. Joe Shaughnessy coming back in, I think, will help them. I hope they can go and get a win. But I think it'll be a draw, 2 each.
I've got 2-1 United. Ali, what are you going for?
I'm tempted to say 2-1 United as well. I think Dundee United might just edge up.
I think so, yeah. Dundee United 21.
And thanks to Tommy, who's posted a message. Wow, Peter lets the kids out on a Sunday. They have to be in their 20s at least.
30s.
That's what somebody else has said as well. But just different courses for different courses. Anyway, from the Dundee derby, just before we go, great to have Kris with us on the programme. There's some tasty games down south, the pick of them, undoubtedly. For me, I'm looking at Everton West Ham and thinking, wouldn't it be sweet for David Moyes' Everton just to get one over in West Ham after 2 stints there, giving them the best day of their lives?
Yeah. Do you know what? I think he got a real rough time, didn't he, once he won the cup, the European Cup. He had a bit of a rough ride, didn't he? And obviously a lot of West Ham fans, you know, the programmes that I was listening to and the press, they wanted him out. They weren't happy with the style of play. All of a sudden they get a new manager, that turns to crap. And then now they obviously got someone in that's a good manager, a good coach, and looking for that next phase. But at the minute, Moyes has gone in at Everton and turned their season upside down with them going into a new stadium. It all looks rosy, and something that I think in behind David Moyes will be his coaching staff and getting these boys really fired up and just sending not so much the coaches but the West Ham fans. This is what you're missing out on.
Yeah, just before we finish, and obviously Ali, you've tried to advise her to stick to her guns and stay resolute. Would you sack Arteta at the end of the season?
No.
I
think he's one of Europe's leading coaches. I know he's not won a trophy. The big talking point was always about getting a striker in. Yeah. I don't think you can foresee the amount of injuries that have happened in the final third for Arsenal.
All clubs get injuries.
They do get injuries, but they don't have that many key injuries in the final third. I think it's been a big transition to try and stay in that zone where you're competing against Liverpool and the top people in the Premier League. But I think the big one will be this summer. Can they get good strikers in? If they can get good strikers in, they can keep Saka fit. They've got Odegaard, who's one of the best technicians in the centre midfield there. Then they've got a real opportunity. But I think these next 12 months, Arsenal fans will be wanting some silverware. If not, he'll find himself out of a job. But it'd not take him long to get another top job. I think he's brilliant.
Yeah, okay. Liverpool-Newcastle, I'm going for Liverpool to win it.
I hope Newcastle win, honestly.
Yeah.
I really do. I think Liverpool, obviously, they'll win the league this season, and I think the League Cup's well down their priorities. I think for Newcastle, this is like the Champions League final for them. They've not won a trophy in 60, 70 years, and the scenes
Anthony Gordon's a massive miss away.
Yeah, listen, if you ask me who I think is going to win Liverpool, I would love love to see Newcastle winning it.
Chatting on his Keegan there.
Yeah,
I'd love it. I'd love it if we beat them. Yep.
yeah, exactly. Do you think they're going to win?
I think Liverpool will win.
Yeah, okay. Unusual for you to pick somebody wearing red. But nevertheless, Chris?
Like Tam, I want Newcastle to win. Yeah, I really would.
Okay, thanks to everybody for... Kenny says Newcastle fans deserve a trophy. That whole city will go mental if they win that League Cup. Everybody will be phoning in sick for work. There's a line there, but calm down, folks. Can I tell you that 2:30 on Sunday, Tam will be with me alongside Blair Malloy, and we'll be reading out some of your messages. We're going post-match reaction to Celtic against Rangers. We're going to have a competition as well. Sometimes when you watch the game on Sky and you see the camera panning round in the crowd and you get the excitement and you see people there with their kids and their family and everything, and you say, oh, I recognise him. And that was one of our competitions we were going to run this weekend. Can we spot Kris Commons disguised with his family in the Celtic end? And you're wearing a lovely red dress and a blonde hair and a wig.
Yeah, like Katie Price.
You're looking forward to it as a fan?
I am, yeah. I need to go and get myself a scarf. My boys, they've got Celtic kits anyway, so they're good to go. But yeah, my daughter, she's the one that's keen as mustard. She's obviously a little bit older, so she remembers of what it were probably 9-10 years ago. So yeah, thoroughly looking forward to it, and hopefully the result will keep us in high spirits for the journey back down the road.
Yeah, okay. Listen, brilliant to have Chris with us as ever. Going to try and see as much of him as we can possibly stomach. Tam's getting a bit worried, going, how often is Commons coming up here?
He offers Melon Ruffy anyway.
Yeah, wouldn't be tough. Ruffy in Lanzarote at the moment for his 5th holiday of the campaign.
5th holiday of the year.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks to Ali, thanks to Kris Commons, thanks to Tam McManus, and thank you to you. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel, and the figures have been absolutely magnificent. We really are delighted with your commitment to our programming, and if you download the app, you'll get all the breaking news at your fingertips. Join us Sunday, 2:30, YouTube channel PLZ Soccer for post-match reaction to Celtic against Rangers. Thank you for listening and watching.